Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rams House Podcast. Joining me today is Will and one of our new hosts, OJ. What's going on, guys?
What's up, boys? How we doing?
What's up? What's up? New
So,
face in the house.
Yeah,
so
welcome
for
on
those
board,
of you
man.
guys, just for your information, Joe's got some family stuff going on. He wasn't able to make it today, but in the future, we will most likely be having 4 people on each week. So OJ will be joining us regularly. That'll be exciting. And just for the safety of the other hosts and the viewers, last name isn't Simpson, correct?
That's not Simpson. Let's get that. Let's get that
Hey,
That's
straight.
good.
It's just a nickname from childhood, but yeah.
All right. You can never be too sure. Okay. So and it's really exciting Victory Monday.
Oh yeah,
that
bro.
game.
I'm fucking Jazz, man. Come on.
Not
finally
only,
beating a great team.
dude. Yeah, finally beating a great team, and I think the crazier part is that like that I think I saw somewhere on Twitter, but this is basically going to go down along with the Chiefs Rams game from 2017 or 2018 it was. It's just like a legendary all-time game. I mean,
Yeah,
For sure.
you're talking about a game that ended 44-42. Both quarterbacks played some of the best ball of their whole careers.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of dominating performances in this game that made it really, really exciting. So
yeah. I think that it was an NFL record for like most yards, points without a single turnover or a single sack.
Yeah, you're correct on
Which is
that.
crazy.
it's a little bit of an obscure stat, but basically
It is. Yeah,
it's
but
what it boils down to. It was the most one-sided offensive performance in NFL
right,
history.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With like, because at least that like Chiefs Rams game where they
There were
both
turnovers.
there was like five turnovers. I think Mahomes had 3 and Goff had 2.
Right.
So I remember we had a fumble return.
I think
for touchdown.
Mahomes. I think Mahomes actually had. I'm trying to remember. It was more than that, right? I think he had like 4 or 5. Because
Was
remember,
it 4
he
and
threw.
1?
I think he threw 2 picks and he had the 2 fumbles. Because remember,
Might
80
have
got
fumbled
2.
twice.
Yeah. Because I remember 80 had 2 strip sacks, and then I remember Ebicom recovered one of them for a touchdown, and then
Yep.
Yeah. I'm looking it up now. Let's see. Mahomes had 3 interceptions, and
Okay, so it might have been 3 picks, 1 fumble, or
yeah, because he had 2 picks at the end of the game. I remember it was
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Joyner
Marcus
and
Peters.
Marcus Peters.
Sealed the game. That was so
Yeah,
cool. The
that
former
was
Chief.
fun.
okay,
That was
I
fun,
found
yeah,
I found it. Mahomes had 5 turn. He had 2
Wow.
lost fumbles, 3 interceptions, and Goff had 2 lost fumbles, no interceptions.
I mean, that's
So-
crazy to think, with such a high scoring game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so anyways, this Bills game, Rams Bills was just like unbelievable as far as just offensive performances. Josh Allen is the first player in NFL history to have 3 rushing touchdowns and 3 passing touchdowns in the same game.
Yep.
He was literally, I mean, he was basically flawless.
Yeah, just give him the MVP. It's over.
Yeah,
It's Josh
I
Allen.
agree.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like I felt like it was between Saquon and him, but I think he kind of took the number 1 spot and sealed it.
Agreed.
And deservedly so. I mean, just for context, OJ and I have both been pretty critical of Allen.
Oh yeah.
Because of his basic incessive need to turn the ball over. But like, look,
Mhm.
he was basically a highlight machine, a touchdown machine, and the only real flaw in his game was the occasional really inaccurate throw and the boneheaded turnovers, which he was making a lot the last few years. I think over the last 3 years, like before this one, the 3 years prior to this year, he was leading the NFL in turnovers over that 3-year course. So like, it's not like we're overvaluing it. Like he had been one of the worst with the football in the NFL, but he literally cleaned that up overnight and is just not giving the ball at all.
Yeah. He's amazing, man.
And we just beat that guy. So that's like wild to think about. And okay, so let's go ahead and dive into it. As you guys can see, we overcame Josh Allen to beat the Bills because really it was Josh Allen against the Rams is what it was.
Oh yeah.
That's the best way to put it. Yeah. We overcame Josh Allen, really. That's exactly.
That,
I mean, we'll
that's
get it. We'll get into like the game plan and stuff, but yeah.
So let's just give our brief overview of the recap of this game. I think it was just offense versus offense, and in particular Josh Allen. He was making insane throws. Stafford had honestly probably one of the best games of his entire career.
Yeah.
100%.
He was, when you talk about Stafford the gunslinger, you talk about the inaccuracy he's dealt with this year, and then a lot of the turnover worthy plays that were plaguing him. I mean, I can't think of a single. I can think of one bad throw, bad decision that he made in this game, and that was the third down in the red zone early in the game where he threw it to Puka and Cup and D-Rob were both kind of open. He was kind of pressured, but he had the option to throw to other people, and it looked like he kind of panicked and just threw it his first read.
Yeah, the zero blitz made him panic.
Yeah, and it was behind Puka. It was but that was literally the only throw I could think of in the entire game where it was like, oh, that was not a good decision, or that was not an accurate throw.
Yeah, Josh Allen missed more throws than him. Allen actually missed a few. As amazing as he played, he missed an easy third down to Shakir, and there were a couple.
He
more.
had a few that he had that
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
even close.
Yeah, he overthrew. There was a few he threw over people's heads, and yeah, he was a little bit inaccurate actually. Although
The crazy thing, to be honest with you, is that I actually remember like a handful of times where if he just threw the ball maybe a bit higher, was a bit past receiver, would have been a pick.
yeah.
But he kind of got lucky. He kind of got lucky, to be honest with you.
He did.
For sure.
He also would have thrown like 6 interceptions if any of the Rams cornerbacks decided to turn around at any point in the game.
Yeah, that's also
Man.
that's 100% true, man. Our
We'll
DBs
get
is
into
not
that,
playing-
but man, I have some things to say about our DBs.
Yeah, when we get to defense, I want to. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
So, any other big overview, just talking points?
I mean, just generally speaking, I'm just amazed that we won the game in that kind of game.
Yeah.
Because what I mean by that is, if you had told me, someone came from the future and said the Rams beat the Bills, I would have thought it was because we like uglied the game and slowed the game down, and we ran the ball, pounded it, controlled the ball, which we did, but not a track meet. I didn't think we could win in a track meet like that. That really, like, our offense going toe to toe with them. I even kept seeing the score. Like, for example, I was watching Sunday Night Football and they would show the scores, and when I saw Rams 44, it's just, I still couldn't believe it, man. Against that defense, like, I'm just so impressed by our offense.
Go ahead. I was just
No,
gonna
that's
add on
it.
it.
That's
just
all.
to say the most entertaining way to like expound upon the point that you made is like if someone came to you yesterday morning and they were like, "Hey, Bills score 42," you'd be like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to."
Oh, we got crushed.
I'm gonna have to pucker the cheeks up, bro, because this is gonna be rough.
I mean, like, I predicted us to get blown out. Like, especially with the way our offense has been this entire year, we've been inconsistent. We've had slow starts. I mean, besides the Vikings game, I can't remember the last time our offense had a quick start like this.
No, I think that's exactly right. I think it's it's pretty much just the Vikings game. Yeah.
So we did a lot of things that we haven't done all year, like get off to a fast start, and well, let's just switch to offense because that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So offensive takeaways, I think the craziest one, and the one that we're really discussing right now, is that we did 2 things we haven't been able to do all year. We got off to a fast start, and we had 2 good halves of offense, which we haven't been able to do all season long.
Yep.
When we got to halftime, and you guys remember in Discord, I was literally like, well, we've been playing only one good half every game this year, so I feel nervous that we're about to get blown out in the second half.
Right.
And it felt like it was a possibility, but we really didn't take our foot off the brake at all, or off the gas. So, yeah, I mean, what are your guys' biggest offensive takeaways?
Oof. I mean, first, one of them was exactly what you just said, that we finally put 4 good quarters together. I think the offensive line was outstanding. I think the receivers were obviously outstanding. Stafford, it was cool to see Brady on the broadcast kind of, he called a lot of Stafford's throws A+ throws, and obviously coming from Tom Brady, that's that's legit. And I'll say this though. So I guess one thing I didn't like, and I know it's kind of beating a dead horse, but it's valid to keep saying it, is the usage with the running backs. I thought Corum looked really good. The numbers back it. He had 4.2 yards per carry. Kyren was at 3.0. And we did this same thing again, where Corum doesn't literally start, but he gets time early on.
Yep.
He looks very good. Actually, I want to say this, guys. His very first run,
oh my gosh,
he made 2 guys miss and got a first down. And I just want to emphasize to the audience, like, I feel like people don't take into account how hard that is to do on your very first run of the game, because you have no rhythm. Like, imagine playing a sport and you're just inserted into the game midway through and you have to take a jump shot. Like,
I mean, 100%.
Like, he just comes in and looks great, and then we go away from him. Yeah, go ahead, OJ.
No, I'm sorry about that, but
No,
yeah, I mean, like, to be honest with you, like, only like you see elite backs who have that capability of to just jump into the game. Like, for example, we saw that with Saquon Barkley, right? The ability to take a run, from 0 to 100. And one thing I want to harp on into that Blake Corum point as well. I was also talking about in the Discord as well that Kyron got 30 carries. Blake Corum only got 8. And the bulk of those carries were on one drive in the first half. And if you guys see at the Saints game, it was the same exact thing. For second drive of the game, Corum, got majority of the carries, and he looked great. And for some reason, Sean McVay took him out. He didn't play for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So
for those
he's been
of you
doing
guys,
this all year.
Absolutely. And for those of you guys who think we might be exaggerating, I don't know why I said it like that. It was weird.
No, you're not. You're not exaggerating.
But I want to show a couple of these plays because, we haven't gotten dinged yet showing like one quick play. So I'm going to show this, but like this is a great view of his first play of the game that we're talking about, and I promise you,
this is a run, right?
You've never seen Kyron run like this in your life. I promise you. Like watch his.
Can you full screen it?
It won't show it properly in full screen.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so watch this though. There's a tight end that's like Davis Allen coming around. He misses his block, but this is also part of the thing is Corum is decisive and he's quick, and he doesn't linger as much in the backfield as Kyron, not even close. But I
also want to point out, look who he puts his move on as well. Look who he puts his move on.
Matt Milano.
Milano, who's not a scrub, by the way. That's an all-pro linebacker.
But look, that's a good point. If we had shown you this, and this was Kyron Williams, this is a guaranteed tackle. Like
100%.
Just this freeze frame where stop right here, but watch this move, man. Now let's watch it back one more time in regular speed. But that move.
That's a great cut.
You know what that is? Yeah. That's called natural twitchiness, and that's not something you can teach. And that's something Kyron doesn't have. He doesn't have that natural twitchiness.
Yeah. And I want to watch this one more because this is also an interesting angle. This is one of the other. This wasn't even his second best run. I think this was his third or fourth best run. But I really enjoyed. Because what he does is he basically bursts through a hole where he makes his own cutback lane and then bursts through it. This is something that Kyron has not been able to do well all season either. And so check this out. But he just quickly finds that hole and runs through the seam. And
Kyron, why is that guy blocking it? It's funny.
Yeah, that's kind of annoying.
Come on, bro. I'm trying to see greatness.
That's right. So these are the kind of plays that we've been kind of harping on Kyron not doing all season long. And it's that simple thing because realistically, it's one of the weird things about Kyron's game. Whenever he runs to the outside, 9 times out of 10, he tries to go to the edge, but he's not fast enough to make it before the defenders. Yeah. And he just doesn't have the vision to see the hole that's being created. And in this case, it was Davis Allen that created the hole on the outside. And then as soon as that Davis turns his body, Corum cuts in through the hole and bursts through it and picks up like 8 yards. And what was it wasn't really even that well of a blocked run. But he made stuff happen that really wasn't there. And that's what we've been needing from running backs. And if you think we're exaggerating, let me pull up the box score from this game because it's really like a microcosm of the whole season. And Corum's numbers are actually lower than they were because he was really averaging 6 yards a carry until he got like 2 clear, like definitive run plays later in the game, which it was, he only got a couple yards.
Honestly, I want to mention as well, I remember 2 run plays on that first drive with Corum that McVay called, and it was just bad play calls, to be honest with you. Like, we already had ran it a couple times before that. The Bills had stacked the line. I just thought those were bad calls, and I felt like that ruined his average.
Well, not only that, but we discussed live while we were watching the game. There's a trend that the Rams have right now where Jordan Whittington only comes in on to block, so he only comes in on run plays.
Oh yeah,
and so he kind of telegraphs it.
I think 3 or 4 of the plays where Corum came in to run in general, Whittington was on the field, and we were like, I was watching it with Joe. We were like, this is a definite running play, and it was telegraphed. But like the 2 that you're talking about, I'm pretty sure in that first drive, I'm pretty sure Whittington was in, and it was like, oh gosh. It not only was Whittington in the telegraph, but it was literally mirroring plays we'd run earlier. But realistically, Corum ran at a 5 yards per carry rate or higher, and Kyron 3 is being generous. He had some incredible blocking that he benefited from. This is just what we've been talking about all season. The yards per touch for Kyron is unacceptable.
Yeah.
We also have to point out that. Sorry, Will.
No, you can go ahead. No, you go.
I also want to point out the carry amount. 29 carries is an absurd amount for one back. I mean, especially with a back that lacks the ability to make cuts, lacks the ability to make quick decisions. And that's another thing I'll bring up later about Kyron Williams. But yeah, you can continue. Will.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, there, first of all, we love all our viewers. We got some comments in the last video that we were being too hard on Kyron. But look, if you want like just all positivity, the Rams official channel, you got DeMarco Farr, you got JB Long. They're never gonna say anything bad about the players. Here we keep it real, man.
Yep.
29 carries, 3.0 yards per carry. I mean, I don't think we're being unfair here. I don't think.
No,
No,
I mean
no,
it's
how can
it's
you
called,
take it any other way besides that's not a good day at the office?
I
And
mean,
when the
yeah.
O line is moving them.
Oh my
The
gosh,
O-line
they
was
dominated all game.
mauling them. Brady said it on the call. Our offensive line was taking it to the Bills front, and he's averaging 3.0 per.
Our O line, that was an all-time performance yesterday. All time.
Yeah,
100%. It was all-time performance. I mean, it's just called being real. It's called reality. I mentioned this in the Discord so many times. It's not called being harsh. It's called being real.
Yeah.
If we're not realistic and we're not criticizing the players and the staff on this team, then what are we doing?
Right. Why do this?
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not cheerleaders.
Support.
We're
I mean,
analyzing what we
exactly.
see.
I mean, this is what we do for fun, right? Like I'm a Rams fan, right? I'm not part of the front office, but at the end of the day, I want to see a good product out on the field.
Mhm.
So I will criticize if there's issues with the players and the staff.
Yeah, and by the way, all four of us on this podcast have one goal in mind because we're not Cardinals fans, so we're not just like hoping to get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We're not 49ers fans that just
not this Cardinals, by the way.
No,
But
the
yeah.
Arizona Cardinals. We're not 49ers fans, so we're not just hoping to make it to the Super Bowl and not win, which is what they do all the time. We're Rams fans. We're looking for rings. Our goal is rings, and so to win a
dynasty,
ring, dynasty. To be a dynasty, to get rings, you have to be dominant, and to be dominant, you have to strive for perfection. And the reality is that Kyron, I'm going to say one thing for all the Kyron fans out there too, is 29 carries a game for a guy who has a long history of injuries is also not good for that guy either.
100%.
That's also
100%.
That's also a good point.
The splitting...
Why was it so lopsided, man? I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I see it on Twitter as well last week when Corum finally got at least 6 carries. Oh, Rams running back duo. I saw a tweet that was posted in the. Remember the tweet that was posted to Discord? Make a name for Rams running back duo. I'm like, it's not a duo. How is a duo when a guy gets 29 carries and when another guy gets 8? Sorry about that, but I just
if you guys
have to say that, man.
If you guys didn't see it, it was a picture of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and it said Sonic and Knuckles, and they said name this duo, and then it was Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, and I said Cheeks and the Kid. That was the best one I could come up with.
Oh yeah,
it's not a duo, but it should be, and this is something that Ethan said. I've said is that Kyron should be like the red zone guy,
short yardage, red zone.
Yeah,
because he actually does have a nose for the.
That's the thing about Kyron, right? That's the only thing he's good at is those short yardage.
You know what? He's the opposite of Steven Jackson. Between the 20s, he's trash. In the red zone, he's like incredible.
Wait, was Steven Jackson not good in the red zone?
No,
I thought he was.
No, he was bad.
He was not a guy though. He was not a guy that had a lot of high touchdown totals. Basically, he had one season, I think.
One double-digit season.
Yeah, one season.
You'd think he'd be amazing there.
Yeah, you would think that.
It's weird. I mean, look, we had a bad line, we had a bad team, but like Barry Sanders and Adrian Peter, when you discuss Steven Jackson as an all-time great, other all-time greats who played on atrocious teams still scored touchdowns. It was his one big flaw is he just struggled to get in the end zone. And he did it over multiple coaching staffs and stuff. So you're like, is it the offensive scheme? Is it this or that? But he had a long career and he always struggled to get in the end zone. It was just a thing. But between the 20s, Steven Jackson was probably a top 3 back at that time in the NFL. He was just unbelievable. But
Steven Jackson was a monster. People don't understand.
Yeah,
he was really good.
Special, man.
And that's why I say Kyron's the opposite, because between the 20s, Kyron is the mayor, the president, the CEO of Cheekville, and in the red zone, he's actually a really good back.
Yeah. No,
I mean. No, you go ahead, Will.
It's just, too, just I guess on a broader point, I know McVay's obviously focused on this season, but I want Corum to get more run before the season ends, just so we know where we stand as far as
100%.
Because I'll just say it, I'm high on Blake Corum, but I don't think any of us can say how good. I know he's good, but I want to know how good he is because it's going to change what we do.
I have an opinion. I have opinion on how good. I mean, obviously none of us know, but I do have an opinion on how
Mhm.
good he could be. But we need to really cement that opinion. You have to have
Exactly.
more data. And like
Exactly.
personally, because our run blocking is so good, I think Quorum is a 15 to 17, 1800 scrimmage yards player because he's actually pretty good in the pass game as well, from what we've seen. And again, not
Yeah.
trying to be disrespectful, but if Kyron's putting up 13, 1400 yards in this offense with the bottom 10 yards per touch in the NFL, then a decent back like Quorum, even if you don't think he's amazing, is putting up somewhere in the 15 to 1800.
I mean, Kyron, I'm pretty sure he's one of the worst backs this season in yards before contact as well. I mean,
I
we
think
see
that's
with
right.
the we
We've
see
shown that,
with
yeah.
exactly we see with the great run blocking from this team that this is the issue with Kyron is that once he gets past that first level into the second level, the dude becomes useless.
He doesn't make
Because he
anyone
can't-
miss.
He doesn't make anyone exactly. Well, he doesn't make anyone miss. Even if like he tries to truck someone over, he gets stopped at that
Yeah.
point. He might get an extra yard or two, and that's I'll give him credit. That's the one thing Kyron is good at is he can get extra yardage. He can get that 1, 2, 3 yards extra. But besides
Yeah.
that, the dude is lackluster.
But
And I'll
that's-
mention this
yeah.
as well. Blake Corum, if you really think about it, is Kyron if he was athletic.
Yeah, he was
'Cause
shiftier.
they're very
little more burst.
Because their builds are
Very
very
similar,
similar.
If
They're
he-
very
if-
similar builds.
If he was athletic and he had the ability to see with his eyeballs.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But no. So it's a good point, and I want to give props to Kyron for like knocking people over and getting the extra couple yards. But then you watch guys like David Montgomery and Derrick Henry who just knock guys over and still remain on their feet and they just keep
Yeah.
running.
Contact balance.
Yeah.
I think that's
Right.
something Kyron lacks. He lacks contact balance. You think when a guy is supposed to be a physical back,
Yeah.
he should have some form of contact balance, but he always goes down after usually the first form of contact.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, what's that drill they do where the two guys are laying down and they stand up and it's
Oklahoma drill.
The Oklahoma drill.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
drill.
if Tutu and Kyron did the Oklahoma drill, I'm pretty sure Tutu would find a way to bring Kyron down. Now Kyron
Oh,
may
yeah.
bowl him over and he may get the extra 2-3 yards, but
That's hilarious.
but he's
yeah.
getting tackled.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that I can't say you're wrong because this dude, like he might break 1 or 2 tackles, but he just doesn't break tackles.
We've seen him get tackled by small
By
corners,
his leg,
safety,
his
yes.
ankle, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
where he gets tackled. Like he'll get like brought down by his foot, by his leg.
I mean, that's
It's-
another thing about Kyron as well is that speaking of contact, the dude doesn't know how to protect the ball.
No.
Like what
Yeah.
as a running back, right? When you're a guy that is known to be a fumbler, DBs and linebackers are going to be hounding and going to be punching at the ball every time you go into the secondary or go into the linebackers.
Speaking of,
So
go ahead, no, finish up.
yeah, I just want to quickly say that, like, when you put 2 hands on the ball, like if you've played football in your life, if you put 2 hands on the ball, it's basically impossible
Correct.
for a DB or a linebacker to punch that out. But when you have 1 hand on the ball and you keep the ball out, it's basically just takes a small touch and that ball will just fly out of there. It doesn't take much to push it out. So
And-
that's also another thing.
And if you think we're exaggerating, rewatch the game. There's 2
Oh, we're not
there was
exaggerating.
2 plays in this game against the Bills where the ball did move, just didn't fully come out. By the way, that's a terrible sign because the ball moving will eventually lead to the ball coming out entirely
Oh yeah.
and us giving the ball to the other team. So let's talk about the offense. Let's talk about probably, I think, fairly certain. No, just kidding. He definitely is the best player on our offense. And I want to shout him out because he did something amazing. He is basically one of the greatest receivers early in his career of all time. If Puka can stay healthy, he's on track to be a top 3 receiver in the NFL and a Hall of Fame level player. He is that
Just a
good.
beast, man.
He's that good.
I mean, let's think about it, right? What can't Puka do? Like, what can't Puka do? The guy's he's a great route runner. He's great after the catch. He can run all the routes. He can run the post routes, the dig routes. He's great. Obviously, like I said, yards after catch on screens. We saw this game. The Rams ran a plentiful of screens, which you all know I've been asking for this offense to start running screens more because we have dynamic playmakers after the catch and
Specifically
Cup and
to the
Puka.
receivers, not to Kyron.
The receivers, not to Kyron, to
Specific,
Cup
yeah.
and Puka.
Yeah.
To Cup
Which
and
we
Puka.
used to do all the time, by the way. I don't know why.
Yeah.
they
Yes,
went away.
and the end arounds, by the way. We're also
The
used to do all the
end
time.
rounds is- the end
We got
rounds.
to talk about that.
Oh, yeah,
Finish your
yeah.
point.
But look,
Yeah.
Puka, I mean, he ended up with
Phenomenal game, man.
178 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And it's just it's not simple enough to say Puka was really good. Puka made 3 or 4 catch of the
Unreal.
year candidate catches in this
He
game.
wasn't just really good. The dude was phenomenal. He was legit Hall of Fame level play. That's what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
it reminded me of 21 Cooper Cup with
Yes, totally.
because every time the Rams needed a big play, if it was remember we used to call it. I mean, we still call it now. 3rd and Cup, right? 3rd down and long. We needed a play.
Yep.
Cooper Cup would always show up.
And he
And
did,
I
by
feel
the
like
way,
that-
multiple times this game.
And multiple times, and that's what Cup did. Cup just, I mean, Puka. That's what Puka did this game. He would just make these insane catches. I remember specifically. I don't know if Ethan, if you have it, the
I do.
toe drag swag catch, man.
Yeah.
Are you
That
ready
is,
for
I
this?
mean, honest with you, this is not me glazing, but that's one of the best catches I think I've ever
No,
seen.
It's
That
the
was
best
I
catch
said
I've
that
ever seen.
live. This is one of the best
I
catches.
think
It's not
yeah.
just the angle, it's the angle that he's running in, the angle in which he has to catch the ball in, and the angle which he's taking in order to get his feet down.
Tom,
Yeah. And
Tom-
the coverage.
Tom,
the coverage was great too.
Tom mentioned as well. Look where he puts his hands. He puts his hands completely behind him. Like, it's
Yeah.
absurd.
It's just not the regular. You're not doing an over the shoulder catch. You're not doing one of these. The angle of this catch is just insane. Where his hands are. Let me see if we get any of it
It's
in view.
Yeah.
I'll show it up.
dude. It's just
That
impossible.
is
Oh my
unbelievable.
god.
So forget the toe drag. Just the angle at which his body is compared to the ball, because he ends up catching it one-handed, which is just
Yeah.
unbelievable. But then the wherewithal, when he's getting shoved out to still get both, dude.
Yeah.
One of the most insane things about this that I think is really hard to understand,
Crazy.
because to make this play, you guys know the term boneless. He had
Oh,
to go.
yeah.
He had to go boneless. He had to make his body go limp, or his legs weren't going to make it down. If he stiffened up, he doesn't make it down in time. He kind of goes limp, which is why his legs drag that way, which is just like unbelievable. But look at this dude. That
Also,
honestly,
the ability to survive the hit, because the DB puts
Mhm.
a pretty gnarly hit on him, and a
Still
lot
on
of
the ground, yeah.
a lot of receivers we've seen, they drop those balls in that situation.
I
Yeah.
mean,
No, let me ask you guys this right now about Puka. Who are you taking over Puka Nacua? Like right now, for me, I'll say Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase,
yeah.
Tyreek Hill, and I think
Not-
that's
No,
it.
no, I'm not
And I
taking
think that's
Tyreek
it.
Hill.
I'm not Tyreek Hill.
You're not taking Tyreek Hill?
Not this
Okay.
season.
No, no,
Not
no,
this
no.
season.
It's not even the season issue. It's the fact that he's in his 30s now.
Okay, well, I guess I meant like
Okay, is the
literally right
what's the
now.
question? Are you talking
not
about
like
okay?
not like going forward. Just
Yeah,
like
because
right now.
I was thinking about right now. Because if we're talking about right now, I mean, even going forward, but right now, I would take Puka over
Okay, so we all
everyone
agree-
besides JJ and Chase, like you mentioned.
Okay, so we're saying he's a top 3 to 4 receiver in the
Oh
whole
yeah, definitely. I mean,
Well,
think
let's
about it like
look at
this.
right? This is yards per game. This is kind of because there's been a lot of injuries, including Puka. I'm telling you right now, I'm taking Puka over Nico Collins.
I mean, bro.
I'm taking Puka over CeeDee Lamb, for example. That's a guy that
Yes.
a lot of people would say CeeDee
By the way,
Lamb is top
CeeDee
5.
Lamb,
I would
CeeDee
take
Lamb,
Puka Nacua over CeeDee.
I'll say this: CeeDee Lamb. I gave him credit last season for having a really good season, but this year, man, he's had some
By the way,
drop
where's
issues.
Tyreek Hill at? Look, he's at 59 yards.
He's-
a
I
game.
mean-
Well, they've had a weird season with Tua being.
I think Tyreek Hill has only had like maybe 2
Hmm.
games with over 100 receiving yards. Like,
Yeah,
he's
I
not
mean,
had a
look,
great season.
it's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Puka
Yeah.
Nacua as top
Yeah.
3.
Okay.
You could
Oh,
make.
AJ Brown is
I'm taking
very
Puka.
very good.
I'm taking Puka.
I would say AJ Brown is like this season is just a tier below. He's
Okay.
he's fourth, but he's right below. That's just my opinion.
But
Yeah.
here's another factor, and you touched on this earlier, OJ, is that Puka is a complete player. Like he doesn't have any weaknesses. He can do it all.
yeah, he does.
And AJ Brown is a much more of a deep threat than he is the
Yep.
other things, and he's still good after the catch and all that stuff. But like, if you're a team, let's just be real. Smart teams, the Super Bowl winning teams, the dynasty type teams, they get guys on their team who like to block at receiver. Every guy who played for Bill Belichick loved to block, was a good blocker, because it's an important aspect to the game. And so even if you think, for example, that AJ Brown might be slightly better as a receiver, Puka Nacua is a top tier run blocker in the NFL,
Right.
and that has to be
Right.
worth something.
100%, man.
It's only not worth anything if you're not really deep into the game of football. But
Yeah.
good pass blocking receivers make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And Yeah, Puka's top 3 right now. I think that's totally,
Okay.
and you gotta even consider the fact that he's basically just getting healthy from his injury.
I mean, think about it as well.
Right.
Like, we talk about like stats, right? The guy missed what 5 games this season.
Mhm.
Yep.
The guy would have
Sounds right.
finished minimum top 3 in receiving
Yeah.
yards if he didn't get hurt. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure
he's
I
an
mean-
all-pro player.
I mean, let's look. So
I'm pretty sure he finishes with probably around 1,500 or more than 1,500.
He's
Yeah,
that
he-
AJ number his yards per game
that
right
was
now?
in my head,
Yes.
by the way. In my head,
Yeah.
I nailed that. Like,
But so if
1,500.
1,500 if he played all 17 games, but you also have to remember that he was hurt and he played hurt some. And
yeah, that's
so
true as well. That's true.
I'm willing to bet that he would have gotten 1,700 or so this season, with no injury. And obviously that we can play the what if game all the time, but the reality is Puka is just an insane player.
Yeah. He
And
also got ejected in the Seattle game as well.
That's
that's
true.
true.
Yeah,
So he's
that's
missed a lot of unfortunate time between the ejection, the injuries, and we know for a fact that he got rushed back because he was still like doubtful, questionable
Yeah.
that first week back from injury. So like you gotta imagine that injury lingered for a couple weeks, and you can kind of tell because if we go into his profile,
Hey,
here,
I want to say something about that as well. Like,
look at the last few games, like the last 5 games, he's blown up. And so like
I mean, phenomenal, man.
if we look at the game log when he returned from injury, he had a couple of I guess he started hot, and the Seattle game hurt him for sure, and he got hurt
Yeah.
early in the Lions game. So really he's really only had 6 games this season. And look, he in those games he had 106, 98, 123, 117, 56 and 162.
I mean, technically, if you think about it, he like besides like external factors with ejecting and getting hurt, like the only I guess bad game he had was last week against the Saints, but even then he still scored a touchdown.
56 yards and a
yeah.
touchdown, man.
I mean,
Like
yeah,
that's
I mean,
that's his bad game. That's
his-
like
it's
great
his
games
bad
for
game.
most people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we've
Yeah.
talked about the running situation. We've, you know what? Before we finish the receiver situation, let's touch on the 2 topics. Number 1 being Cooper Kupp is still him. Anyone who thought he was washed, you can suck it.
Oh yeah. I mentioned that as well. Like in the Discord, when I came back, I was like, any of y'all who thought that Kupp should have deserved to be traded, take that out right now. The
Yeah.
guy has always been him. He has never lost a step. The only thing that's held Kupp back, unfortunately, is the injuries. He's still the same player.
Yeah.
He hasn't lost. Okay, people might say that. Okay, he might be a quick slower with his spin moves, with his juke moves, and this and that, but he still can make guys miss. I think that's just a cliche thing to say. Like,
Yeah. I mean, the other thing about Cup too is people don't really put enough stock into all the dirty work he's
Oh
doing.
my
in the
Oh, yeah,
contest.
By the
yeah.
way,
Up in the
who
stat sheet.
made
he made,
If you
a
look
key,
at-
he made a key block to win the game.
seal block?
Yeah,
to
that's
win the
what I
game.
was about to say. If you look at the screen that gets us the go-ahead touchdown, well, we already had, but the
Oh,
game
yeah.
sealing touchdown, that's a play that you call to Puka Nakua, not just because Puka Nakua is so good at running with the ball, but it's because
100%.
you trust Cooper Kupp so much to make that.
100%.
Like that play is just as much about Cooper Kupp as it is about
Puka
Nakua.
said that after the game, talking to Tom Brady too. He said the reason why we were comfortable making that play call in that situation is because we had Matthew Stafford out there to read the zero blitz, because that was the reason they were going to do it. If they were in zero blitz, they were going to go to that play, and B, they had planned it on that side so that Rob Havenstein could get out there and make a key block, and they knew Cooper Kupp would be besides Puka to make the block. So Puka said there was 3 veterans on the field that were completely responsible for making that play successful.
Yep.
So
And that's just one example. And I know there's many,
Yeah,
that's what
I mean,
Cooper
yeah, I
does.
mean-
That's just what Cooper does for your offense. So
I mean, Cooper
So-
Kupp is just like a perfect just football player as a coach.
Me
Like,
and OJ had to sign this apology form for Josh Allen because we were wrong about him. Now, all of you Rams fans who wanted to bail on Cooper Kupp need to sign this form too, because you were wrong. He's not washed. He's still a good dude. The amount of value Cooper Kupp brings to this team is literally incalculable. I really believe.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Like, I mean, we mentioned this before as well, Ethan. Like Cooper Kupp, like you said, all the things he can do right. He does the dirty work that not a lot of receivers do. He's just also another point I want to harp on is that he's a great leader. And
100%.
he's mentioned this that he's not really interested in doing coaching, but I always thought Cooper Kupp would be a great coach if he
for
retired.
sure.
The guy just knows how to break down plays, explain things in simple terms to players. I mean, Puka mentioned this. I remember after his rookie season, how great of a teacher Cup is, how easy he made the offense for him to understand.
But you know,
He's a coach on the field.
That's the issue with him, is that he said about coaching is that he knows he'll be a good coach, but he knows
Yeah.
that to be a good coach requires all your time.
Yeah, all your time, and I don't blame him, man. I mean, enjoy your life. You know,
Enjoy
he has
your
a
life.
he has a family. You know,
100%. Honestly, the best thing Cooper can do after he's done is to be like an off-season guy who works with receivers off-season.
like an ambassador in a sense. Like
He might even,
what was his?
you know how they have those like quarterback schools where they work on your throwing motions and all that stuff and your footwork? He should open up a wide receiver school. He obviously knows, he literally knows everything about the position. I'm being dead serious.
Nah, like
Yeah.
Cooper Cup, like
Because he
could
can
teach a
control
lot of
his
young
hours.
guys.
He can control his hours, and he can, he doesn't have to work coaching hours. I don't know. Just a suggestion, Cooper.
I see him coaching a high school team in
I mean,
Washington.
I feel like a lot of
That's what I see.
young receivers, like they feel like you have to. And also, like a lot of young players just feel like you have to be extremely athletic to be a great player. That's not the case. Technique is honestly the number one thing. Obviously, athleticism helps, but if you don't have the technique, you're not gonna,
I mean, look,
your skills won't show on the field.
reality is when you watch film on college players for a long time, right? And you're seeing who pans out and who doesn't. It's always going to be, technique is going to be the first indicator of whether you're successful in the NFL level or
100%.
not. Athletes come and go and are bust routinely. Now, obviously, the
Mhm.
guys who end up being elite have incredible technique
Have both.
and incredible athleticism.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about guys who are going to bust, athletes with no technique is at the top of that list. Now,
Yeah.
before we finish with the offense, we did mention we want to take a look at this one other factor. Actually, before we'll give Matthew Stafford some more love too. But let's finish up with the receiver room. It's a mess again. And Whittington, 10 snaps. I am almost positive they were all running plays, maybe 1 or 2 passing plays at the most. But it's a darn shame, because one of the things that we keep seeing week in and week out is Whittington showing an unbelievable ability for speed and making guys miss when he's returning kicks.
Oh
That
yeah.
guy, we know he's a good route runner. We know he has good hands. We know he's savvy. We know he's the best literally a top 5 run blocking wide receiver in the NFL. But he's also a guy who clearly has yak ability. Like, there's no one on this earth who's going to convince me that D-Rob and Tutu and Tyler Johnson deserve more snaps than him.
Mhm.
Sean McVay could be sitting in this room with us right now, showing me film, and I'd be like, Sean, you're crazy.
I mean, this is something we've harped on for weeks about Demarcus Robinson just getting in a normal, like, look at the amount of snaps. I mean, it was less in this game,
He
but
missed the quarter.
Oh yeah, that's true. He did miss a
was
quarter. He
hurt.
did get hurt. You know, that's a crazy thing, because normally he's been getting, I think, around 80 to 85% of snaps per game, and it's crazy because
He's been out snapping Puka and
people.
Cooper Kupp.
I mean, people will say, okay,
It's funny.
but he has 7 touchdowns. But how does he have 7 touchdowns? Oh, because he's a red zone specialist. I mean, think about it like this, right? When you're in the red zone as a defense, who are you going to focus on?
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp
Right.
and Puka Nacua.
Right.
So that leaves D-Rob in those one-on-one situations. And as a play caller, you know, with Sean McVay, he knows that this is a guy I can get the ball to, because he's going to be one-on-one. And all he has to do is beat his guy one-on-one. And we see he's done that multiple times. But at the same time, that guy shouldn't be getting 80% of snaps. He should only be getting 30% of snaps as a specialist.
in the
Or
red zone. Yeah.
let me flip this on you. Does anyone here think that Jordan Whittington couldn't do that in the red zone?
No, it's not like he couldn't do
He
that.
definitely could.
But
they're all out routes. It's just it's simple. It's the same play every time. D-Rob runs an out, and either Puka
just
or
little
Kupp
speed
runs
out.
an in, and the guys get scared about Puka and Kupp.
I mean, you know the funny thing about that, we've
Whittington can do that, of
we've
course,
seen
for sure.
Cup run that route so many times in the end zone, so many times.
Realistically, all our receivers are capable of that route. So
Yeah,
like,
any of them can do it.
it's not a difficult route to do.
I even think Tutu Atwell gave us more than D-Rob in that game.
Oh,
did.
Tutu
He
Atwell
did, he
was like
did.
pretty good. Like he
Tutu
helped.
Atwell, he
You know,
made the key catch in the 4th and
in
5.
4th down. Yeah.
I mean,
Which
if he doesn't
was
make
helpful.
by the way,
make the catch, we lose the game.
I will give some flack to the Bills' defensive film watching and coordinating. All 3 catches that Tutu had, he was actually not a notion.
Wide
He was
open.
actually lined up, and he was wide open. And I thought to myself, I watched him back, and I said, and none of those 3 plays did the corner get their hands on Tutu at any point.
Bro, it's probably because he's so small they couldn't see him.
But that's like, it's clearly on film. If you get your hands on Tutu, you displace him from his route.
I mean, the guy. What? I mean, he's a small dude. I mean, if you just give him a bit of a push, he's gonna fall
exactly.
over.
I mean, or he gets displaced from his route enough to ruin it, and
Yeah.
that's how teams play him when he's not in motion, and it's so effective. The fact that the Bills didn't do that is just awful on their defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll bring that point as well. That I think both sides of I would say, especially defensively, even offensively. I mean, this might not sound interesting, but I feel like both of their game plans were bad on both
On
sides of
defense?
the ball. Yeah, no, both on
Um,
offense and defense. And we'll get into it why, because the fans might be like, that's a bit odd. They scored what
42.
42 points. Yeah.
You're saying you thought their offensive game plan was bad?
Yeah, I thought their offense. Well, we'll get into
Yeah,
it
sure.
though.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
explain.
I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear
Let's
that.
just-
They're-
Let's finish up the offense real quick with
Yeah.
basically hammering down the fact that Stafford played like a Hall of Famer today or yesterday.
Oh yeah,
Um,
man.
That was easily his best game of the season. That might have been his best game as a Ram. That might have been the best game of his career. He
yeah. And when we
genuinely
needed it the most.
look. He genuinely played.
I mean, it's
flawless
something like it's something we've been asking for as well all year. For like, when is Matthew Stafford finally going to show us that $40 million Matthew Stafford contract extension?
Yeah.
You know,
It's probably the second game all year that he's like.
Oh,
really
yeah.
played well.
I would say
But it's his best game for sure.
Yeah.
But
I would
it was his
say
best game.
honestly, like the last time I saw Stafford play like this was the Niners game. Because if you guys remember, in the Niners game, what was our key to our success in that game?
This
The
year,
one
Getting-
this year.
Yeah, the one this year.
Mm,
I would say what I would say is that getting the ball out quickly. I felt like Stafford was getting the ball out quickly, not allowing the Bills to get home with pressure. Even if they were getting home with pressure, he still was throwing the ball away, which we haven't
Yeah.
seen Stafford do like
Yeah.
all year. Typically, Stafford would throw that ball into double or triple coverage. You'll end up getting tipped or picked or whatever. But yeah, I mean, thank you, Stafford. You're finally
And-
showing that you're
McVay has a part to play with that too. He has to call.
McVay as
Yeah.
well.
He has
Yeah.
he has to game plan it that way and everything. But great game
Yeah.
from Matthew Stafford. McVay
and the O line was playing
that's
great.
right.
I think that was
Yeah,
the
that's-
first game in the whole season that the Bills didn't have a sack.
Yep.
I feel like the
and then-
O line's been getting better week to week.
Yeah, and then no, they have been since they've been getting healthy. And then also just for Stafford, a few of those he avoided the sack. I saw him get around Von Miller.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
saw him avoid a couple sacks. So it was just. I mean, like, I know when you first asked about offense, we went straight to Kyron. So I feel bad because we kind of like because that was really the only bad thing I could say, which is why I went
Sure.
there. But other than that, literally everything to a T, execution wise, offensive line, Matthew
Flawless.
Stafford, receivers,
100%. man.
perfect.
Well,
100%.
not
Sean
all
McVay
the
also-
receivers, but
Well, yeah,
Cooper,
but
Cooper
the
Cup
two
and
main guys.
Tutu
Yeah,
Atwell.
Our
McVay,
superstars,
like,
our
everything was
superstars.
Our
was
superstars
just-
played like superstars, but to hammer on your point, the O line was incredible. And by the way, don't kid yourself, the O line was incredible run blocking as well. The only one who
Mhm.
couldn't take advantage of it was Kyron Williams, and that's been the literal like a key factor all season long.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guarantee if Blake Corum got even like half of the percentage of the carries that Kyron did, he would have had a 100-yard game.
I'm
Easily.
willing to bet on it.
Easily
I
a
agree.
100-yard
with the,
game.
with the way we were getting after them.
And
up
look,
front,
I
100%,
know,
man.
I know people are going to harp on it, but I want to show you this. I know people are saying Kyron hit 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. But look at the yards per carry for running backs this season.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It's turning into a running league again right now. Look at the running yards per game. It's 4.0. The only other person on this list. In fact, I can go all the way down to DeAndre Swift, who we know is utter cheeks. The only person who's lower is Najee Harris. And by the way, he plays dirty for those Steelers. That's his job in the Steelers offense. And that O-line isn't remotely close to as good a run blocking.
Their O-line is
And
not
by the
great.
way, Najee
Yeah.
Harris isn't a good running back either. So you're talking about
Mhm.
the only guys who are in his range as far as yards per average or average per carry. I mean, we can even sort it by actual yards per average. And I know it includes some running backs and quarterbacks and receivers, but I
mean, those stats are inflated. So
Yeah.
gotta go all the way down to here to pick up Kyron Williams, guys. Devin
Yeah, that's not good.
Singletary, Travis. These are some of the worst running backs in football. That's where he sits on his yards per carry, and none of these people around him have probably the best run blocking offensive. No, you know what? I'm saying that they're the best. We have the best run blocking crew because our receivers are so good at run blocking. Our tight ends
Yeah.
are even good at run blocking. As we're not the best run blocking offensive line, but we're the best run blocking crew.
Yeah, I agree because we have, like we mentioned earlier, we have willing receivers who are willing to get dirty.
Puka, Whittington, Cup, our tight ends aren't bad at run blocking. I'm telling you, it's a whole. When you consider the fact that the run blocking is so darn good, this is utterly unacceptable. It just is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all you Kyron haters, come at me, bro. It is what it is. But
Hey man. Like, it's just being real, man. It's just realism. And if people can't accept it, man, the same
Well-
thing is gonna repeat over and over again.
you know what's frustrating about it though is that the run blocking is so good, and it's the run blocking is often judged by the performance of the running back.
Yeah.
And Kyron is not. He's leaving so many yards on the field, and he's I don't want to say embarrassing, but he's letting down the performance the run blocking is giving him.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I feel like this, whether injuries or not, I feel like that's why the Rams O-line hasn't been getting a lot of credit this year. It's because of
Agreed.
the running performances by Kyron.
Yeah,
All right.
and at this point, there are just a couple more things I
Yeah,
had
go
for
ahead.
the offensive takeaways, but just quickly on that, and then I'll just go right into it. Is the carry disparity 29-6 is so absurd that it's almost like I wonder if Sean McVay sometimes he doesn't trust a rookie in a big game. But to that, I would say Kyron Williams has fumbled like 5 or 6 times.
I'll tell you what it
He's
is.
the one making rookie mistakes, even
Absolutely.
though he's not a rookie. So it's like, why? I just anyway. What were you gonna say?
Listen. Look, I know, like, I'm gonna. I hope the fans realize I'm gonna be realistic. And to your point, well, I'll tell you why that is. It's because McVay has a love for Kyron. If you look
That's
at
basically
the
what we said last
if you
episode. I think
look
that's right.
if you look at the locker room speech after the Saints game, he said, I think he said something.
We talked about this.
Top G, Kyron Williams. He said something like that. Like, that just
Yeah.
shows you he has this love for him. And look,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine, right? I mean, you have a love for a player. That's okay. I'm not.
It's a little
I'm not.
sus. It's a little
But,
weird.
like, it's just weird. You have so much love for a guy that has been lackluster and has
Yeah,
made mistakes constantly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I know we have to move on, so I just want to quickly
Yeah.
hit these last 2 things because I think they were worth mentioning. So one, I just want to say about the end arounds that you mentioned. I just want to applaud Sean McVay because while this was a brilliant game plan, one of the reasons why I thought it was brilliant was because it was also simple. Because how many times have we knocked Sean for something is working and then you go away from it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
this was the game where it's like, we did an end around, it worked, screw it. There was a series where we literally did an end around and then we just did it again the next play. And like, why not? If it's working,
Sure.
keep doing it.
I mean-
And I think we ran like 5 or 6 of them and only one of them got shut down. Look, I would rather run 5 of them and one gets shut down than run only one and it worked and we just stopped. Like, that's smart. That's good offense. So I just want to applaud Sean for like not overthinking and just sticking with what's working.
I mean, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I know we've spent 47 minutes on the offense, but I do want to say one more thing to that point of applauding Sean McVay. He had a brilliant moment late in the game on an end around to Puka Nacua where he appeared to have run an end around and called the timeout as the play started. And it gave the play
Mhm.
away that we were running an end around from left to right. And we all were like, well, we wasted timeout. That was not good. It's a close game, et cetera, et cetera. And then when they broke the huddle and they went to the line, I said, I wonder if they're going to try to run that play again or do something tricky with it. And we were in voice together with Joe, and then they put Puka in motion. He comes around to the other side, and I said, "Oh my gosh, they're going to do it again the other direction."
Yeah, that was a
And
great play call.
It
man.
was not only was it a great play call,
love
but
that.
it was
I love
he
that.
set it up with that timeout and made it look like he kind of gave it away.
Yeah, I mean, I said like, man, like, I thought we just wasted a free touchdown. I was like, man, McVay,
Yeah.
you're overthinking it again.
Well, you
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
makes
yeah,
it
yeah,
crazy
yeah,
is
same.
is you see Puka and Kobe in motion the first time, and you're like, oh, Sean's running the same play, and then
Yeah.
you go, oh, never mind, he's not running the same play, but he was. So it's like the defense let their guard down, like, oh, it's not going to be another end around, and then it was, and dude, they were completely caught off guard. It was
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
like it was brilliant, man. And that just reminded me of the days of the 17, 18, 21 Rams offense.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
All right,
We
And then
need
the-
it.
Yeah, and then just the last thing too is the 4th down call at the end of the game.
Oh yeah.
This when it was
Balls.
38-35 and it was 4th and 5. I just want to say I love that decision, and I actually don't think it's like as
I
like,
agree.
It's
I agree.
ballsy.
Yeah.
It's ballsy, but it's not as crazy as people think because if you kick the field goal there, you're up 6. And the way our
Mhm.
defense is playing, And sure enough, Buffalo went straight down the field and
Yeah.
scored a touchdown easy.
I mean,
So
listen,
I think
man.
it was ballsy, but like it was just objectively just a good decision.
Why
think.
did we-
So
I mean-
I give Sean props for that too.
You know,
4th
it's
and 5,
crazy.
good
Didn't we
call.
take a delayed game there?
We should have
Um,
taken a false start, is what happened.
Oh,
They didn't call
okay.
They didn't call the false start.
I was trying to
We got
remember how
away-
that-
we got away with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
that was
thought
a- that was a-
they
that
were.
was the
Yeah,
that was the right decision by Sean.
I thought they were
because-
going to take a
And
timeout.
the other thing
yeah.
is, let's say we don't get it right. Then all of a sudden the Bills, their mindset is they're down 3. So that might affect how they play on offense. Maybe they're not going for it on 4th. They're okay with settling for a field goal to tie the game and send it to overtime versus if we kick the field goal and we're up 6, they know they need a touchdown. So they're just in a different mindset. They're going for it on 4th. I just think overall it was just objectively a good decision.
No, it 100% was. I mean, McVay understood that especially that fourth quarter, the Bills scored 21 points on us in that fourth quarter. McVay
Right.
knew that they were gonna run down the field and just score instantly. So he made the right
He
decision.
was thinking the same thing we were. Now that we're on the defensive side of things, the defensive takeaways, he was thinking the same thing we were, which is he didn't want to see any of the secondary players of the Rams besides Cam Kinchens in coverage again.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
what it boiled down
Pretty
to.
much.
So let's talk about the defense. I was going to show the stats, but I'm not even going to bother because there is none. We basically
you know what's
none of our guys did anything. That's why.
There's nothing
yeah, I
to
mean,
show.
I'll be honest with you
there
No
was
guys.
a lot
sacks,
of the
no
defense
tackles for
out there.
locks. Literally, we had two couple pass deflections.
I struggled to come up with a positive point from this. Like
I
it's,
got one.
I do have one, but yeah.
We held James Cook in check. That's my one
Yeah.
positive. And that's all. That's all. I got.
Well.
actually,
he only
I
had 6
disagree.
carries.
Yeah, but I
I
think part of that is okay. That's
disagree.
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't. They should have ran it more with.
I
him, to be
agree.
honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably one of the reasons they lost.
Yeah.
okay. I guess you're right. That is too small of a sample size.
And
the
by the way,
carries he did have, it was we held him in check. But yeah, it was only 6. So I guess that's fair.
from
Josh
what I
Allen
mentioned
was-
earlier, about the game plan for the Bills, that harps into my point about their game plan. I don't think they ran the ball enough. I feel like they just
That's fair.
and this is what we remember about the Bills last year. Why did they fire their coordinator last year? Because their coordinator wasn't running the ball enough, as well as just like Josh Allen had to make hero plays for the Bills. If you notice this season, the Bills, Josh Allen doesn't have to make those hero plays unless they need him in the end of the game. Like, for example, against the Kansas City Chiefs, where he made that long run and he scored the touchdown. But like I was saying, like, the fact that they didn't run the ball, which has been the Bills, honestly, their main identity this season with their new OC is just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling to me.
I mean, I guess my pushback to that would be what they were doing was working so well. So I don't know if you need to
I mean, that is
like
true.
they got whatever they wanted through the
I mean, that is true, but I felt like they could have. There were a drive or two where obviously every score mattered, right? But there was a drive or two where they did get stalled on
Okay.
a third
Fair
and long, where I felt like they could have just ran the ball. I just felt like in
Yeah.
general they just could have ran the ball. Like,
No, I think
how many-
that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, how many carries did James Cook have? You said 6.
6? Yeah, that's not enough. I hear you.
I mean, what
feel you on that.
what was his average in total on that?
3.3 yards per carry. And
Yeah, I mean-
I also think part of that is that they were down for most of the
Yeah,
they were down by a lot for a lot of the
that's
game.
true as well. But I just felt like
Yeah.
they kind of resorted into that old Bills offense with Josh Allen being the hero. And look, that will help you to an extent, but I feel like that's a losing formula overall. But yeah,
That's fair. That's fair.
There's really not a whole
Um,
lot to say about the defense. I thought
yeah,
the
I
game
mean-
plan from Chris Shula was awful.
It was awful.
He put people
man,
in
Chris
bad,
Shula, man.
He put people in bad
That's another
situations
guy.
all game long. They were just put in horrible positions. They also played horribly. I mean, there was really not a lot of positive takeaways from the defensive side of the ball. I can't think of a single player that I thought played really well at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think the only players that I thought had like a solid game were Kobe Durant, not
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
and also Kobe Turner. Kobe Turner was able to get a couple of pressures, and Kobe Durant actually did pretty well in coverage. That was actually going to be when we do our stock ups and stock downs. Kobe Durant only, I think, allowed 3 receptions in coverage, so I
Mhm.
guess that's a positive. But besides
Yeah.
that, there's
Cam
nothing else.
Kinchens had a couple good plays too, but no, overall, I mean, I
Yeah.
agree with Ethan. There's no one that had like a very good day.
Yeah.
I actually think
It's
Kitchens was
pretty
our
bad.
best player on defense, to be honest.
I think Kitchens allowed that one play to Shakir. Besides that, though, he played pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I would say I was disappointed, honestly, in our pass rush. And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, I know they have a good O-line, but you know, the expectations I have of this D line with how talented they are is to do it better than that. I'll put it that way.
100%.
I'm not asking for 4 sacks, but I'm expecting more pressure than
I mean,
that.
at least give Josh Allen something to think about. It
Right.
felt like the dude was just out there chilling on like a
Yeah.
Sunday night, just enjoying a drink,
Well,
just
and
relaxing.
then when we did get there, look, I get he's shifty, man. I'm not saying it's easy to bring him down, but it was like every time we got there, he made
No,
them
every
miss.
time we
Every
got
time he
there,
made them miss.
I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm honestly embarrassed. The amount of times our edges and our linebackers got cooked by Josh
Right,
Allen, it's just
Yeah.
like,
Well-
I feel like, yeah, you can continue, Ethan.
no, I kind of want to weigh in on that, and I don't really blame them as much because with a guy like Josh Allen, you have to contain, and the people who are responsible for playing that contain are generally speaking going to be the extra people who are in zone who are no longer there when you blitz constantly like Shula did. The
That
other
was another problem.
the other
Yeah.
issue is the other person who plays heavy contain so he can't step up is the nose tackle, and Bobby Brown got mauled all game long. And so the like definitive ways to contain a guy like him and get sacks, because Josh Allen rarely gets sacked on the first attempt at him. It takes a bit of a group effort to get Josh Allen down because he
Yeah.
is shifty. He is also really strong and really big.
Mhm.
You can't let him have a place to step up into. And if he tries to move, that's where your shallow zone guys, like your inside linebackers, come in and help kind of cover those gaps and play contain so that the guys can clean up and sack him. Well, those guys were blitzing and weren't doing anything useful. And then the nose tackle wasn't getting any push. Josh Allen always had a clear zone and lane to run through. And so whether
That's
that was
true.
a poor execution or it was bad coaching, it was just always the case.
Yeah, and I
I'll
think
be honest. I'll be honest. I think it's part of both. I feel like with the Rams, like I mentioned this in Discord as well. I feel like we've had an issue for years with containing mobile quarterbacks. I just feel like this year has just become like a bigger issue. But
Yeah.
like you said, you mentioned the blitzing thing, right? I feel like the same thing happened in the Eagles game. On those third and longs, Shula would send these blitzes. They would never get home. And you give a guy like Jalen Hurts, who is mobile and can get out of the pocket, the ability to extend a play, he would always find a receiver down the field. I felt like that was a carbon copy of that Eagles game, to be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. No, just speaking of Shula, I totally agree. I think there was a lot of things he did in that game that didn't make sense. And you talk about, first of all, just blitzing too much when it's not working. And when you're playing a quarterback that's, great against the blitz.
That thrives
And-
against
and
the
then-
blitz.
Yeah,
Thrives
and then,
against the blitz,
the other
yeah.
thing is like I noticed this happened a couple times on like a third down is we would send a heavy blitz, but then we would play such soft zone behind it.
Yeah,
Which to
that
me,
doesn't
that
make
doesn't make
sense to
any
me.
sense.
Yeah,
Because
I'm
you're blitzing and the idea is, oh, the quarterback's not going to have a lot of time to throw, but you're playing such a soft zone that, oh, okay, well, here's the easy dump off. Like, in other words, if you're going to blitz like that and it's about timing, you need to play man behind that. So that's just another example, or don't play such a soft zone.
you know
Because
what I think.
it's just not like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
go
you know
ahead.
what you know what I think that is? I think Ethan has mentioned this as well, and I mentioned it in the Discord. I feel like that has part to do with the fact that Shula didn't come in with his own scheme. And people
Yeah,
might
yeah.
ask, why is that? I mean, the guy said before the season, I'm bringing in a mixture of Raheem Morris's and Wade Phillips scheme. And as a
it sounds
DC
like it's the ass parts of both.
I mean,
It's
that's the
not
thing,
about
right? If
only
I'm,
the bad parts.
I mean, and that's the crazy thing. You didn't even bring the
None
good
of the good.
parts.
Yeah,
This
none of the
guy,
good.
bro, this guy said,
Where's the-
"Hey, I coached under Wade Phillips, Brandon Staley, and Raheem Morris. Let me skip the guy with the number one defense, and let me go to the
Yeah,
other two
yeah,
guys."
Who runs a zero blitz with soft coverage? Just
Yeah.
make it make sense. I mean, it's like you have to give time for your guys to get home. And when you're playing soft coverage, there's going to be someone that's open underneath. Basically, it's the same thing as sending a 4-man because you're playing that soft coverage. You're not pressing up.
It's bad.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
make sense.
and that's the thing, right? Speaking of Shula, man, if I wish this dude had come up with his own play calls, his own play sheet, his own scheme.
I just
Instead
don't
of
think
try-
he can.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I don't think he's
That's
capable of
that's
it.
fair. That's fair. That's
And
fair.
I don't
yeah.
know if I would trust him to, because he's.
And that's another thing as well, right? I mentioned this as well, that this is why I want an experienced DC. I think we might be harping on here a bit long, but yeah, a
No,
bit
no,
long.
it's we're talking defensive takeaways. There's no
Yeah,
other
this
takeaway than this is the most
honestly,
important
like
takeaway is
this.
it's on the coach. It's on Chris
I mean,
Shula.
like I said, like I feel like we should have had him hired a more experienced DC, someone where, I mean, look, people might say that, oh, Sean McVay, he's a bit older now, he shouldn't have to rely on, another DC, doing everything. But I mean, that's a job that DC though. I mean, we remember in 17, 18, 19 with Wade Phillips, right? McVay used to go sit on that cooler
I
Yeah,
loved it.
because he
that's right. That's
because
right.
he knew that he trusted the fact that Wade Phillips had the defense in his hands. He had it in control. I
Yeah.
just feel like whenever I see McVay on the sidelines now, whenever our defense make mistakes, he looks extremely stressed out.
He actually, to your point, he talked to the defense a few times on
Yep.
that
Oh
sideline,
yeah,
which is
and
it's actually a good point you're making because he's not doing that in 2017, 2018.
He's
Yeah,
not doing it in
that's
2020
true.
either.
yeah. I mean,
And
people can say it's an evolution of him as a head coach, but I feel like if you
right,
don't
yeah,
need to do that if your defense is performing well.
And your defensive
Yeah.
coordinator is
Yeah.
someone you trust to do the right
Exactly.
job well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's another topic for another day about
Yeah.
Sean McVay hiring his friends. But
right,
Yeah,
right. And we've talked about that a lot on this pod.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. And then just one more thing about
Mhm.
Shula not making sense is I thought that it's almost like a sad irony is that I've critiqued Chris Shula for being like too conservative on defense, where you're kind of just
Yeah.
allowing things. And in that game, it was like the opposite, where now all of a sudden we have a lead. We're up 38-21, and now you're being aggressive.
Yeah,
It's like
it
no,
doesn't
it's
make sense.
that doesn't make any sense. Now is finally the time to be conservative. Make them drive the length of the field. If you're going to give them stuff, give stuff up, fine. Dink and dunk, make it be a long drive. Make them have to take up clock. But it was like we were up 38-21, and we were like blitzing still, giving them just quick touchdowns, long plays. Like it didn't make any sense, dude. Nothing in that defensive game plan from start to finish made any sense.
You're absolutely right, Will. I mean, all their scores in the fourth quarter were basically instant. I mean, I can remember the play to Shakir. That drive lasted like 30 seconds. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I mentioned this. If you're going to allow them to score, at least make them drive the length of the field,
Yeah.
like you said, because that milks time off the
Right.
clock.
Right.
And that
Right.
just brought them back into the game. Unacceptable. Just unacceptable all around.
Yeah, it's
All
a
right.
problem. Chris Shula's a problem.
I couldn't agree more. Let's move on to stock up. We'll start with the offensive side of the ball. Who wants to get us going?
Will can go.
Sure. I'll be quick. I chose Matthew Stafford. Like we said, he had his best game of the year. Just everything about it, from the throws themselves to the decision making to avoiding a couple sacks. Tom Brady mentioned that he kept changing the plays at the line throughout the day, and I think just total command of the offense. Matthew Stafford, great game, man. Restored my confidence in him. Not that I lost it fully. I was I guess, fairly high on him, but just showed me that this is what the ceiling of this offense can be still with him. So
Basically, we saw the real Matthew Stafford that we've been looking for.
yeah,
Basically.
yeah,
Well, I guess we'll have to see more of that to see if that's true. But
yeah. That's
he's
and
been,
I
he's
think
been
that's
more.
also fair.
He's more. He's
He,
been more bad
he, has,
than good.
he has to continue it, of course. I mean, this is the Matthew Stafford that we've expected, especially the way that he performed in the second half of last year. But we'll see, coming up Thursday.
Need to see it more for sure. That's fair.
Ethan, you can go.
I'm gonna keep it real simple because I think it is the most important aspect to this team, and that is the offensive line stock up. I thought they played. I said it earlier that it was an all-time performance. They didn't allow a sack. They only allowed a handful of pressures, and they were blitzing a ton, a lot of zero blitzes even. And so the whole line, the run blocking was spectacular. This is if I know Alaric had a pretty decent game, despite the fact that he received lots of help again. But if we get a real legit starting left tackle, I'm just not paying Alaric Jackson,
No, that's fair. That's
high money
fair.
to be a mediocre left tackle. If we get a real legit left tackle this offseason, this O-line has the potential to be the best in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Limmer's only going to get better. Avila's only getting better.
Right.
Dotson's already a top 3 right guard in football. Havenstein's already a top 5, top 10 right tackle. So that would be stock up. Offensive line, they are proving themselves to be a top tier unit. After the injuries, they finally got healthy, and I mean, this is top 5 offensive line in the NFL, maybe top 3.
100%.
You know what's funny is that everyone always talks, oh, the reason why the Lions running game is so good and Jared's playing so well is that their offensive line. So, dude, the Rams have a better offensive line than Lions. That isn't even arguable for me. Stafford has been pressured far less than Jared Goff has. The running lanes have been significantly better for the Rams. Like, and not that the Lions' offensive line is bad. The left side is pretty horrible. Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow have been awful. But yeah, the Rams, you know, everyone's talking about the Lions O-line. I think the Rams O-line is better.
No, I agree, man. Like, to be honest with you, funny enough, I actually had the same point. I had the Rams O-line, but I'll change it up a bit. I'll actually pick out a single player. I gotta just give credit to this guy because this is a guy that when I saw that we drafted him, I was intrigued because I saw his RAS score and he was extremely athletic. So I watched him on his film and I saw it like, man, we might have got a player here. Beau freaking Limmer, man. What a steal.
Ethan's gonna love that.
What a steal, man. This guy, for being a 6th-round draft pick, has exceeded all expectations. And to be honest with you, it's not surprising to me, at least.
Nope.
Because if you watch this guy in college, the dude was absolutely dominant at Arkansas. He was an athletic freak. The dude has barely given up any pressures this year. And being thrown into that role when a guy like Jonah Jackson that was supposedly, which we obviously has been a failure, supposedly he's supposed to be our reliable center this year, has been awful. Beau Limmer has just taken the mantle and just ran away with it. I'm just glad we found our center for the future.
That's an amazing point. And I know for a fact that OJ, both me and you were fully on board when we watched his film after the draft. We actually didn't scout him before the draft, but we scouted him after, and we were like, oh, this guy's legit. We knew we had a future starting center on our team when we watched this film. It was clear and evident to us. And he's a stud. And you know what? He's the perfect complement. That's why I didn't like the Jonah Jackson signing at all. Jonah Jackson is a below average pass blocker. The only thing he does at a solid rate or above average rate is run blocking. And when you look at the interior, Avila is a run blocking specialist. Kevin Dotson is a run blocking specialist. We didn't need another run blocking specialist. I mean, maybe we did because Kyron is so cheeks, but we needed someone to balance that interior O-line out. You know what I'm saying? And Beau Limmer is a pass blocking specialist. He's good enough in the run game, but dude, he's let up like what? 1 sack all season and just like 3 or 4 pressures. He's been incredible.
I think he's only allowed a handful of pressures, 1 sack. I mean, just phenomenal. Another late round steal by the Rams in back-to-back years.
Such a wonderful compliment. He's a wonderful compliment to Avila and Dotson. It's a perfect interior trio.
It's a perfect fit because he's not just athletic; he's physically gifted. What was the issue with Brian Allen? The dude was the softest, the weakest center, and I'm not exaggerating by that. He's the softest, weakest center I think I've seen in my life.
I don't think he was soft. I think he was just not strong enough. Because in college, he was a bully, but he's just too small.
I mean, I don't know, man.
It didn't translate to the NFL, whether it was lack of strength or lack of aggressiveness. He was aggressive in college. He was not able to do that in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, also like he was a smaller center as well.
He was only like 6 foot, right?
Yeah, I mean, Limmer. I don't think even Limmer's like huge, but he just looks big. He looks big.
I think Limmer's pretty.
Is he huge? Like I think he's like 6'3" or something like that. I know
for a center, that's big. I'm looking it up right now.
That is big for a center. I mean, I know Brian Allen was 6'2", like.
Oh no, Beau Limmer is 6'5".
He's 6'5". Really? Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm looking at Brian Allen. I thought
he's 3 inches. He's 3 inches taller than.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Brian Allen was like 6'2", 300. Yeah, monster. I mean, yeah, we have giants, in our interior.
Yeah. No. So yeah, Beau Limmer is very big. Yeah.
I mean, O-line in general. I mean, look, like I feel like, obviously, we've had injuries with the O-line, but I feel like even then our O-line played pretty well, even with the injuries. Now with our O-line complete, we're finally seeing what this offense potential can be. And we could even have a bigger potential, obviously, because our run game, I feel like, is still locked with Kyron Williams and his his limits and his lack of ability to be a great running back. But man, like.
So I real quick, I just wanted to finalize this. Allen measured at 6'1" at the combine, actually. So 4 inches
Yeah.
shorter,
Oh, okay.
and
That's a
he
that's
had
a midget
very
at
he
center.
had very very short arms. That was one of his things. He was
Yeah,
just,
that's
just a small
a midget at center. That's just not like if you're especially with our physical zone blocking scheme, we need guys who are big. Like it's
Yeah.
simple as that.
yeah. So, all right, stock up defense. You know what? I'd say we just skip the whole thing, to be honest.
Stock up defense. I can give one guy.
All right, go ahead.
I guess Kobe. Like I mentioned his name before, but I'll be quick with it. Kobe Durant. Like I said, he didn't give up a lot of receptions. Only 3 receptions, 25 yards on 8 targets. He also had a pass
That's good.
defense, and that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good. I mean, to be honest with you, he's actually been like a top 20. I'm pretty sure he's been a top 20 cornerback this season. Actually, DB this season. He's only allowed a 70 passer rating, so you have to give him credit where it's due. He's played well.
I had the exact same one, so I won't add
Yeah.
anything.
I'll-
Kobe Durant was my stock. up on
Since we're
defense.
doing it, I'm just gonna say Kinchins continues to improve, and I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Stock down offense. I mean, look, do we have? Do we all? Oh no, you have someone different. I mean, Will, do you?
I have someone.
You're,
I have someone who
you
might
guys
be
aren't gonna
different.
have what I have. Yeah.
I have someone who might be different, to be honest.
we've already exhausted the Kyron talk.
Yeah,
just-
it's not Kyron.
Kyron's my stock down because everyone else played well besides the guy that you're going to mention. But Kyron's my stock down, and I just want to say that with as beautiful of a performance as the O line gives you in that, to only put up 3 yards to carry is embarrassing and it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
simple.
Simple.
I guess I'll go. Mine is D-Rob, man. Like I said,
Okay.
the dude was just invisible, and
That makes sense.
yeah, I mean he's just invisible to offense for a guy that's getting 80% of staff. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, people said before the season the dude is a great number 3. Man, if you're a great number 3 with guys like Puka and Cup who get that much attention, you should be able to put up at least some semi-decent stats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can I give a little context to that real quick? I think it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
This is D-Rob's last 5 games. So
Awful.
Last 5 games,
Awful,
he's
man.
averaging what, 6 yards a target, which is horrific. And then the per game average is 21 yards a game is what he's averaging.
I mean, yeah, it perfectly, plays into my point. The dude is just a non-factor. And just imagine with a guy like Jordan Whittington, like we said, that the dude just has, that burst. He has that yak ability. He's just a good player, and the fact that the guy gets no targets, and he gets actually not no targets. He gets no snaps. He gets no reps.
This is just unacceptably bad from a number 3 receiver.
Yeah.
It just is.
I mean, to be honest with you, we look at the entire season. He had that one game against Seattle. Besides that
was it.
he hasn't had a good game. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
His stats are
It's hard
honestly
to disagree
inflated.
with that. And like we said, the issue isn't that even the touchdowns stuff like that. It's the issue is that really any of the receivers on our team, except for maybe Tyler Johnson and Xavier Smith, can do what he's doing in the red zone. He's not doing something that's like exceptional or specialized. It's literally just a quick out.
It's more of the scheme in the play call, to be honest with you.
And I want to say he's leading the receiver room in snaps, which is mind-boggling.
I think he is, because the last couple of games, besides this game, of course, because he missed time, but I'm pretty sure he had more snaps than Puka and Cup, which is
since they've been back, D-Rob has led in snaps.
absurd, man. It just doesn't make sense, man. Like, I'm just trying to like wrap my head around it, like why that is, but I just can't.
That's one of the questionable personnel decisions that Sean is making.
Yeah, I think that's another discussion
Well,
as well. Personal decisions.
It's funny because that's my exact stock down. I literally wrote Sean McVay personnel decisions.
That's
So,
actually a good one,
that's
man.
a
that is-
really
that-
good one.
That's a good
stock
one,
down.
man.
Because
funny
it's
because you
it's Kyron and
you guys-
D-Rob.
yeah,
it's-
that's what I was
it's-
gonna say is you picked Kyron and you picked D-Rob, and that's exactly why my stock down is Sean McVay personnel decisions.
That's
Give Blake
tied it up with a
give-
bow.
Yeah, give Blake Corum the ball more. And look, why should the running back split ever be 29-6 unless one guy is like incredible? Like if you have like
Or
a Saquon
having a
100%.
great game.
or a Christian McCaffrey, then okay, fine. But like 29-6 when they're, in my opinion, they're very. I mean, I think Blake Corum is better actually, in
Yeah.
fact. But anyway, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. That's
Yeah,
that's,
it
that's
doesn't.
really it.
All right, stock down defense. We've kind of ad nauseum this. I'm just going Shula. Shula is just showing me he's not an NFL defensive coordinator over and over again, and it keeps going down. The scheme is bad, the game plan is bad. I thought the game plan was horrific. You know, there's a reason why Josh Allen had a career day against us, and it wasn't because he played out of his mind, although he did. But we were kind of giving him what he wanted over and over again.
Yep.
That's fair.
Agreed.
Will, you can go.
All right, I had Quentin Lake. I thought Quentin Lake was poor. Well, he had like one or two nice plays early on, and then he played poor for like bad for the rest of
Oh,
the
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And bro, this guy just doesn't know how to play the ball. And there's a penalty where he has deep ball down the field where he just like runs into the receiver like I don't want to call him an idiot, but like he looks like he has no idea what he's doing in coverage a lot of the time. So Quentin Lake is my stop down.
Totally agree, and it's ironic because early in the game I said he's actually having a good game so far, and then I said, oh, that probably means it's about all fall apart, and it did. He was pretty crappy the rest of the game. So
Yeah, funny enough, Will, I had the exact same one, Quentin Lake.
Okay.
I actually,
Okay.
you've already like gone in depth in the explanation, but I have some stats. He actually on I think 10 targets, he gave up 7 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's
Okay,
just
no,
horrendous.
that's good.
That's-
It's good for you to bring up. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good.
He also, like you said,
That's
he
not
got
good.
he got flagged for that PI, and you look back at it, all he had to do was turn around, and that's honestly.
Exactly.
That's
Just play the
most
ball.
likely. It's most likely a game-sealing pick. Like, just play the ball,
Totally.
man. And that's something that our staff, McVay, Lesney, and crew just have to address. Is just our DB
because
room.
it's the whole DB room. Yeah, it's absolutely.
Yeah. Like next season, this can't be the same.
D. Will
DB
did it
room.
a few times too. D. Will was in.
I'll be
perfect
honest,
position a few
like,
times.
D.
He
Will-
just did not play the ball. He just
I'll be
like staring
honest,
at the receiver.
D. Will, the last like 2 games, he's played pretty poorly.
I
Like,
actually agree. I think
I agree.
I agree.
I will give a
but I'll say
caveat.
this. I think I know what you're gonna say, Ethan. But yeah, like I think it's also to do what's around him. To be honest with you.
Yeah, that's the two things: is
Yeah.
what's around him and the fact that he's being asked to do too much.
Yeah, he's not a number
Yeah,
one,
he's
by the
not
way.
number one.
If you,
Right,
he's
right,
he's a
right.
number 2. I mean,
Right.
why do we think in 2021 why he played so well? He had Jalen Ramsey next to him, who
exactly.
was the best cornerback in football.
And even this year, the idea wasn't for him to be the number 1.
Yeah,
so.
we had Trey, and man, I'm gonna say this right now, man. Like, people can say what they want, but we handled that Trey White situation horribly.
We've talked
Horribly.
about that on the pod.
Yeah.
And we completely agree with that. Yeah, I didn't like how that was.
All right.
Yeah.
It's time for the Rams versus 49ers preview. We have an incredible opportunity to sweep the 49ers. And I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a while since we swept the 49ers. This would be really exciting. And Thursday night, after an emotionally draining game, it's actually it's a point to think about. We had a really emotionally draining game, and the 49ers kind of coasted all game in there.
I
Yeah.
absolutely thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an emotional win and then a short week. That's normally not a good recipe.
Yeah, it's honestly like it's easily can be a recipe for we could honestly, if things don't go well, I feel like this could be a Rams 21 situation against the 49ers. If y'all remember the first game we played against them on the road, things ended quickly. Like,
Yep.
Stafford threw the 2 picks and the game was just over.
Yep.
That could easily be this game.
It's gonna be an interesting game. Thursday night football, that'll be fun. The 49ers always play us tough, and it's always a good game.
It's going to be a good game. Yeah.
It's a rivalry game, man. It's always going to be tough.
I think there's this feeling among the fan base and even in like the NFL that like, oh, the 49ers, they're just injured. They're done. I'm telling you right now, I agree with both of you guys. I think some Rams fans think this is going to be like a cakewalk or something.
No shit.
This is going to be a tough ass game.
Anyone who thinks that is either a major homer or just doesn't pay attention enough to football.
No,
because that's not gonna happen.
That's just being oblivious, man. Like all of our matchups, even our last game against the Niners, we had to make a comeback. Do people forget that? We were down, I think it was 14 points in that game, and then we had a phenomenal second half. So I mean, yeah, I feel like this is going to be a nitty-gritty game. It's going to come down to some key moments. There could be some turnovers that could go either way, and I think that will determine the game.
So let's go ahead and dive into the offense versus defense. There is actually some interesting stuff as far as depth charts concerned. So let's go ahead and jump into the depth chart of the Rams offense. We are totally healthy, no injuries at all.
What's his name? D-Rob got banged up, but they
But
said
he's
his
a-
status is uncertain.
but he came back in the game.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I did see that. I think I just you can keep talking while I pull it up.
Yeah,
I
go
think
for
they
it.
said D-Rob is uncertain.
what was his injury again? It was like a shoulder injury, right?
Yeah, he tweaked his shoulder. I'm not.
Yeah, they said they hope he can play
I
Thursday,
feel like
so it's not 100%.
even if he's like
It's fine.
70% ready, they're gonna play him. I don't see
If,
him not playing.
hey, if he can't play, that's
No,
I mean,
no,
not
no,
trying to
D
sound
Rob,
like
D Rob, take
like
your
a jerk,
time,
but
buddy.
yeah,
Take
yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
hey man. It's like the same thing with Troy Reader in Omar Spates.
Mm-hmm.
Addition by subtraction. Listen, man, I don't wish injury on anyone. But hey, man,
No, of course.
rest up, chill with the fam,
Yeah.
and look, just Whittington, involved in the offense, and look.
Nah, I want to get a look at Whittington. I
If
want to
Yeah,
see.
we
100%.
play
We need to see
2-2 and
Whittington,
Tyler,
man.
if D Rob misses the game and Whittington still sits at only playing during snaps during running plays, I'm gonna lose my crap.
Man, honestly, that probably is the scenario because
I
I
know,
feel like
I know it is.
I think Tyler Johnson's the only guy that's behind Whittington in the depth chart.
No, Tyler plays more snaps every week.
Does he really?
Yes, every week.
That's so
Wow,
crazy.
that's
so crazy.
I have actually no words. I don't know what to say to that. That's absurd.
See if I can find the one for this week. But look, this week's. This is the same. I've already got rid of it. This is the same thing though. Yeah. I'm telling you, I look at it every week. Tyler plays more snaps than Whittington every week. But let's take a look at the 49ers defense. They seem mostly healthy, to be honest. I think Bosa's
Is
a
Nick?
little bit.
I guess Nick Bosa's out. I mean, that's a big deal.
Is he out?
I'm not sure. He's been out the last couple of weeks. I know that.
Will's
I mean,
on it. Will, you on it?
Yeah. It says he's to miss. Yeah, basically what OJ said. He has missed the last few, so he missed his third straight game against the Bears.
Let's see if
and
I click on this. They have any
it's
news
unclear
about his
whether he'll.
injury. No injury
Yeah.
news.
And then, well, that would be gigantic, obviously. And then
Yeah.
apparently Dre Greenlaw, who was out, is now going to play in this game.
So that means we have a guy on the other team that's going to try to
That's-
be injuring our players.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
They're mostly healthy though. Nick, I guess we'll find out more on Nick Bosa in his status in the game, but it's a fairly healthy matchup between both sides.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, the bottom line is we rarely have a great offensive performance against the 49ers because Kyle Shanahan knows Shad well.
Yeah. 100%.
Actually, well, you said for the health thing, their offense isn't very healthy.
It actually is. It's just the
Did you
running back room.
did you pull up their offensive depth chart?
Yeah,
Is
we'll
there
go
still
over that in a
missing-
second. You guys,
Yeah,
you guys want to flip? Let's flip.
I think we should
have more-
flip, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about defense versus offense. First, we'll focus on our defense, which is the healthiest it's been all season. And there seems to be some movement forward on the JJ3 coming back for this game, which would be big.
Really? What
Really?
did they say?
Well, they've been hinting at it. I don't know if they're going to. You can't wait all season to see who gets hurt. At some point, somebody has to come back.
I'm pretty sure y'all know the reason why, but it's honestly crazy. They're debating because the Rams have had a lot of injuries this season in the first half, so they had a lot of guys in IR.
Yeah.
And there's only a limited amount of guys you can activate, and the Rams only have one activation left. And they're deciding whether it should be Troy Reader or John Johnson.
Right.
Just think about that,
Right.
which is just
That's
absurd to me.
nauseating.
Especially with the issues that we had in the secondary. I mean, it should be like a no-brainer. John Johnson's a reliable player. He's a great deep zone blue safety,
He's
and he's a veteran, and he's a leader, and he's a veteran. Honestly, I would give him the green dot personally.
And man, Quentin Lake can kick rocks, bro.
Quentin
Lake can seriously kick.
It wasn't John Johnson the green. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't John Johnson the green dot? I forgot which year it was.
2020, I think.
2020, right? Yeah. I mean, the guy.
2021.
It's not like the guy doesn't have experience.
No. So what I would do is I would give John Johnson the green dot. I would put Cam Kinchins and John Johnson as deep cover 2 safeties, and I would have Curl move into the Quentin Lake role, which has been kind of a hybrid linebacker star role. Is kind of what Lake's been playing.
They've been using Curl incorrectly all year.
But Curl actually belongs to be used the way that Quentin Lake has been used. Every time I watch Quentin Lake, I'm like, oh, Curl would be good there. So you play Curl in the Quentin Lake role. You play Kinchins and John Johnson III deep safeties, and then you play a dent zone and just let our 4 main guys rush the passer. I think that's the best option that we have
I agree.
for being
I totally agree
successful.
with
Let's
that.
look at the San Francisco offense now. Actually, pretty healthy. Is Trent? Trent, I think, is playing.
I'm not sure. I know he's missed a couple of weeks. Yeah, well, if you can check that. Also, a key point to note: Garendo got injured in that last game, and
But
Garendo was.
he's
So-
day to day.
Is he day to day?
Both-
I wasn't. I actually didn't check to see what the injury was on Garendo.
So here's from 2 hours ago. Let
Um,
me pull this up, see if there's anything on here. Because this is important.
No, yeah, that definitely is important for sure.
Okay, so Bosa was doubtful for Chicago game, so he wasn't even ruled out for Chicago. He was doubtful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then Trent Williams, you guys see Trent up here.
It's unclear whether he's going to play.
We
He's
could say
basically the answer.
I feel like another thing
Bosa-
as well that could benefit us is that it is a short week, so hopefully, you
Yeah.
know,
They have
I
less
mean,
time.
I don't want to wish injury on anyone, but like, just
No,
rest for another week,
No, it's
Hey-
actually it's a fair point though. They have, I mean, yeah, it's a short
We-
week.
we
They have
don't-
to get ready in
so-
the next 2 days.
The reality is we don't have answers, but from what I just read, they basically made it clear that Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, and Isaac Garendo are all 3 questionable to play. They all
Right.
3 could play
Right.
this game.
yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, we'll see how that
And
plays
those
out.
are key pieces.
And,
like,
and by the
pieces.
way, people
Garendo
say
was
that
dominating before he got hurt.
mhm.
yeah, and by the way, people say that the Niners they've had injuries with Ayuk and they've had injuries with CMC. Matt Garendo, by the way, again, me and Ethan, we scouted him out in this draft, and he was one of our favorite running backs.
Garendo
Honestly,
was
I think he was my favorite late round steal.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Yeah, he looks really good.
he has all
I
the
mean, look,
traits. Yeah.
This team is still talented. That's the bottom
Yeah,
line.
100%.
If-
Yeah.
They, look what they did to the Bears. I mean,
I
we
mean,
lost to that team.
they
Look what
still
did
have
to the
George
Bears.
Kittle. They still have Debo.
By the way,
I mean,
Kittle's finally going off. They have Debo.
Yeah.
They have
Kittle-
Juwan Jennings. is having
Kittle has had a
game.
great year, man. Kittle's
Yeah,
had a
Juwan-
great year. Yeah.
Juwan Jennings kills us every time. So yeah,
And
they can-
and he's been on fire. And Debo and then
Yeah.
Pearsall's talented and like their offense is good. So
Mhm.
none of this game is going to be a gimme. I'm telling you that there's
No, it's
talent.
not.
it's not. Yeah.
And honestly, Purdy had his best game of the season this week too. I think
Yeah.
they cleared
Yeah,
the Bears'
he-
clock.
Purdy was great this week. Yeah.
So
And it's not like the Bears have a bad defense either.
no, yeah, that's the one place they shine. So yeah, it's going to be an
Yeah.
interesting game. It's going to be a good game. As far as the Rams defense versus the 49ers offense, man, it's just going to be a trench warfare, man. That's all you can say about it, because if we're not getting pass rush or getting pressure and push in the run game, we are cooked. Like we're done.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or a negative Nancy or whatever, right? So I think we've covered ad nauseum. We're all 3 thrilled about beating the Bills, and we are all 3 thrilled about the way the game went. Obviously, there was some
Yeah.
negatives involved there, like that we mentioned in our stock downs and all that stuff, but we can't expect another Herculean, perfect performance from, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Matthew Stafford. We
Stafford,
just can't.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
the defense has to play better. Our running game
Yeah.
has to be better. Oh, and the O-line, who was also basically perfect. But it's just not realistic to expect basically sheer perfection from all those people, because that's what it took. If any of those groups, if those 2 receivers, the quarterback and the O-line, weren't perfect, we lose that game. It's that simple.
Mhm.
Yeah. 100%.
And so
man.
the 49ers may not look great this year, but they're still a good team. They're still a talented team. They're still a decently coached team. This is a game we could lose, and we
Yeah,
need more people
absolutely
to
it is.
step up so that that group of perfect players from the Bills game do not have to be perfect again, because that's unrealistic, and that's asking to lose a game against the Niners. By the way, we're fighting for the division lead. It does not appear as though a NFC West wild card is going to happen. I don't know if you guys have seen the latest
No,
numbers or
it's
not.
No, it's not going to happen.
The Commanders would have to completely collapse.
Yeah, I mean,
don't
the
think they're
only
going to.
the Commanders are a game ahead of us in the standings, but even then, I'm not sure what their schedule is. If they have
It's
an
easy. That's the thing. I
Yeah.
have looked at it. It's
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
favorable for them.
if they have a favorable schedule, yeah, there's no chance that NFC West team is making the wild card. Like
So
that's like a
let's-
wild card
let's-
team.
Can we take a look at this real
Yeah.
quick? Because we talked about
Yeah.
the standings.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the divisional standings first, because we talk about That's our easiest road to the playoffs is through winning the NFC West. Now, we're still in the thick of things, but we basically we need to win out. We can't count
We
on a
control our
Seattle.
own destiny.
Correct.
Yeah, we have to win out. Yeah, I agree.
And
Like,
so that starts this game against the Niners, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's just see if there's a road to the playoffs besides that. It's really tough. The percentages are really bad for us because we have to get above the Commanders, the Packers, and the Vikings.
Yeah, realistically, it's just the Commanders. There's no
yeah,
other
I think the command.
Go
I
ahead.
don't know. I feel like the Commanders are the only team we could probably catch because I
Yeah,
feel
that's what
like
I'm saying.
if you look at the teams that they beat this year, I
They're all
think they
bad.
beat it. They're all bad teams. They don't. I don't think they
Except for
have
the
a win against.
Bengals. The only good win they have is
Yeah.
against the Bengals.
And the Bengals have had a horrific defense this year. By the way, horrendous defense.
Yeah, but like, look at this. It's lost against a good team, beat a bad team, beat an okay team, beat the Cardinals. We now know are a bad team. Beat the Cardinals badly.
Yeah.
Browns are a bad. This was Deshaun Watson Browns, so they were even worse.
Yeah.
Lost against a good team, beat a bad team, beat a bad team, beat a bad team.
Yeah.
Lost against two good teams, lost against a bad team, and then beat a bad team. Like it's a
That's fair.
but
That's all
look,
fair.
but look, this is a pretty cake schedule.
Only the
Yeah.
Eagles game is, to be honest with you, a
Yeah,
tough
it's
game.
just the Eagles game.
Because the
Yeah.
Falcons, to be honest with you, we've seen the last couple of weeks they've been pretenders.
They're not that good. Yeah.
Kirk Cousins has been horrendous the last couple of weeks. I think he's thrown like 10 picks the last 3 weeks.
By the way, no, I totally agree with you. The easy way to think about the NFC West race for the Rams is basically they have to be either tied or only behind one game of the Seattle Seahawks entering into the last game of the year.
They
If
have to
that
win the
hap- if
division,
that
man.
happens, no, I know that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is the easy way to think about how you win.
Yeah.
They have to be either tied with Seattle or only back one game.
Yeah.
Like we are now,
100%.
entering into that last game against Seattle. If that happens, then that last game against Seattle is for the NFC West.
It's
So
probably going to
we
come
just have
down
to
to
stay
that.
within one game of them. That's
It's probably
basically
going to come down to that, to be
yeah,
honest
it
with
will
you.
probably come down to that game.
Yeah.
We have to keep pace by one game.
All right, guys, let's move on to running short on time.
Oh,
So,
and then just the last
yeah,
thing
go
on that though is that the Seahawks, the Seahawks still have the Packers and the Vikings on their schedule. Just
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
so
Let's move on.
it's doable.
yeah.
Key matchups. I'm gonna go quick. I'm just beating a dead horse because I think it's where the Rams live. It's trench warfare, man. It's gonna be trench warfare. The Rams line has to beat the 49ers line. It just gives us such a big advantage, especially for us because our secondary is so bad and our offensive game plan is based upon good protection. So it's trench warfare. It's the trenches.
So you got what both trenches, like
Just-
our O
Both
line
trenches?
and our D line versus Okay.
And just
Okay.
by happenstance, both trenches for both teams are good, and so that's like
Mhm.
the key to the game. For that matchup is for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just jump in because mine is similar. I just specifically had our D line versus their O line. I think I want to see a bounce back from the pass rush, man.
Yeah, agreed.
And Purdy had a lot of time to throw last week. I want to see some bounce back game from the pass rush and then the D line keeping the run game in check, especially if Garendo is playing. So that's mine.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty obvious. Whenever we play the Niners, whoever dominates the line of scrimmage is usually whoever wins the game.
Yeah.
There's another key I do want to bring up that might be interesting. Stafford versus Fred Warner.
Okay.
What do I mean by that? I mean by that is Stafford's ability to read the defense and then also be able to read, like, basically adjust to the Niners defense. I think that's a key factor as well because Stafford does a lot of audibles. He does a lot of changes at the line of scrimmage, so I think that's also another key to factor in as well.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that.
Keys to victory. I am going to. You know what? I'm gonna go wild card here. I think personnel decisions are the key to victory in this game. I think if we stick with what we had going last week, with Kyron getting 30 carries, Blake barely touching the ball, and Whittington not touching the field, I think if we give Corum a lot more touches and we give Whittington a lot more meaningful receiving snaps, we win this game.
I agree, man.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So, Will, you can go.
Ethan, this game reminds me kind of the Raiders game where I said my key to victory was just keep Brock Bowers in check. And we didn't do that, and it caused us to almost lose the game
against
to a
the
much
top 3
much
pick team.
inferior team. Yeah, a way inferior team. That's fine. It's very simple, very straightforward. George Kittle can single-handedly beat you,
Yes.
so you got to keep him in check. So that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like we already said, trench work, that's obvious. Another thing I want to harp on, quick passing game. Our first matchup against the Niners, the way we beat them was with the quick passing game, and I think that comes down to the game plan from Sean McVay, like you mentioned, Ethan, the game plan,
Yep.
the personnel. Also, that comes down to Stafford's decision making. Stafford, please, you played great last week. Continue it, man. No boneheaded decisions.
Yep.
I would say defensively quickly, I would say win on first down. Try to get stops on first down. Try to put the Niners in long second and third downs. Make Brock Purdy beat you.
Yeah.
Don't make Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, Isaac Renjuk beat you. Make Brock Purdy beat you. That's my keys.
I hear you. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Now
makes
on
sense.
to predictions. Who wants to lead us off?
I'll just go. Man, Thursday games are always weird.
Yep.
It's my least favorite
Yeah.
game to predict. I think what you said at the very, very beginning is so true that, we just had a long fought, hard fought,
Mhm.
emotional, draining win against Buffalo, and then you go on a short week. I don't love that. But all that to say is,
And
I am
we're
gonna-
going
I-
and we're traveling there. Just throw that out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I am gonna pick the Rams, but I don't want to sound like I'm hedging my bet or I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. But my honest view is I'm picking the Rams, but it's like I'm like 55% Rams. Like
Yeah.
actually, like I just think it's tough to beat them twice in 1 year. They're playing for their season too. It just wouldn't surprise. Anyway, look, my bottom line is I'm gonna say Rams 22, 49ers 17.
Okay, I'll go. I have a similar viewpoint as well. I feel like this game could go either way. It honestly, I feel like it depends how teams start. I feel like always against the Niners, it's about how you start. We just can't start slow. We have to be quick. Offense has to be scoring early. Defense can't be giving up chunk plays like they normally do when we play the Niners. Just like I said, win our first down. So I say prediction. I say we're gonna you know what? I'll predict it. This guy's been getting criticism. Josh Carty will win it for us in a game-winning field goal.
I like it. I like it.
Josh Carty,
Okay.
27-24 Rams. Josh Carty
Okay.
winner.
Same
Yeah.
score as the week 3 win. Okay.
Yeah, same
All
one.
right. That would be crazy. That's the exact same way we won it last
That'd be
time, too.
crazy, but
Carty's
man,
field goal. Yeah.
that'd be insane.
That would actually be crazy. But all right, I like it.
I'll give a contrarian position since you guys both picked the Rams to win.
right.
And what I'm gonna I think the teams are actually fairly evenly matched up in a lot of ways. So I'm gonna basically lean on the fact that we're having to travel there on a short week, and we just came off of a really emotionally draining game. And I'm actually I was gonna invert last game and go 27-24 49ers. So
Okay.
obviously that's not what I want to happen, but it's just
That's fair. We said that it's a 50-50
yeah.
game. It can go either way.
And so part of it's just being contrarian. You guys both picked me to win, and part of it is just going. I know that statistically, traveling on short weeks is very.
Yeah.
It tends to lend itself to worse performances.
Yeah.
And it was the
although it's not much travel. It's not much travel.
No, but you still have to get on a
this time of year.
plane, and you still have to
remember,
go through all
yeah.
that. It's still tiring stuff still exists.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
remember.
Yeah.
time in
No,
the
you're
game.
right.
I remember.
You're right.
I remember what's his name? Todd Gurley. I remember Todd Gurley. I remember he said they used to hate Thursday night games, and I feel like that's a
I
sentiment
think
of a lot of
I
players.
think all players
Yeah.
do.
I think it's just a sentiment with a lot of players. I mean, it's a short week. I mean, we have to think of right. Monday's rest. Tuesday, you got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait.
Wednesday-
By the way, did we get screwed? We have 2 Thursday night games. Most teams, I mean, we got screwed, right?
Um,
Because we had the
I guess it
Vikings game
depends
was
on how you
Thursday
look at
night.
it.
I mean, I
I'm
call that
not
getting
sure.
screwed.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I don't think
want that.
I don't think you normally get 2 Thursday night games. Usually it's just
Yeah,
one.
no,
yeah.
we got screwed a bit. This is not the type of game you'd want on Thursday.
Yeah, and it sucks that's after this Bills
Yeah,
game as well.
it's in a bad.
It is in a bad
spot.
spot, but
At Levi Stadium, yeah.
anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you appreciated this episode. Please leave us a comment, like, subscribe. We love interacting
Rams.
in the comment section. Go Rams.
Go
We'll catch
Rams,
you guys
baby.
next episode.
Later, boys.
Peace.